Why am I naked bringing a drink to a person in a hotel room? This is the worst. I had a great time at the company trip party, but I never expected to get yelled at for helping my drunk boss. I desperately tried to explain, but the next workday, my boss came and glared at me. I need to talk to you. Come to the conference room. I swallowed hard. The look didn't promise a pleasant conversation. I braced myself and headed to the conference room. For some reason, the door was locked, and my beautiful boss cornered me against the wall. Hey, you liked my thing, didn't you? Huh. My name is Sean. I'm just an ordinary office worker. Personally, I dislike standing out, so I always try to stay as inconspicuous as possible at work. However, things often don't go as planned, and despite my efforts to stay in the background, situations arise that make it impossible. It's never because of something I've done. Most of the time, it's because of my direct boss. Her name is Kate. Every day, I'm worked to the bone like her right-hand man. I don't mind the work itself at all, but there's something else that worries me every day. When I was first assigned to her, my initial impression was that she was very competent. Because of that, I felt it was a great place to work, and I could work very comfortably. However, as the days went by, that impression gradually crumbled. It all started at a diner we went to on our way to a client. The moment we walked into the diner, I felt the stares of everyone around us more intensely than ever before. It wasn't just one person staring. I felt eyes on us from all directions. That was only natural because the diner we happened to walk into was full of men, including the owner. All those blank stares were directed at my boss. The stares I felt were not aimed at me, but at her who was walking next to me. As soon as we sat down, the owner, whom we hadn't even called, came over with a big smile and persistently asked for her order. The other customers would look at her while picking at their food over and over again. Even though I knew the stares weren't directed at me, just being in that environment made me uncomfortable. However, she didn't seem to care at all and went about her business as usual after placing her order. From my time working with Kate, I realized that she was someone who could subtly be considerate to her superiors and also be attentive to me and our junior colleagues. She was always observant of those around her. Someone like that couldn't possibly be unaware of the uncomfortable stares that even I, a man, felt. I realized that without me noticing, she had been enduring these stares every day as if it were nothing. When I thought about that, I couldn't help but be impressed. However, the fact that I realized this shattered my own peace. Since the incident at the diner, my nerves have been on high alert to everything happening around her. It wasn't just the diner. Even within the office, she attracted a lot of attention, particularly from male employees who would make unpleasant comments behind her back or make offhand remarks that sounded like invitations to dates during casual conversations at work. It was the kind of stuff that would make my face show discomfort if I were in her place, but these things happened around her every day. Even though it wasn't directly about me, she was my direct boss. While it was just a work relationship, I felt a certain affection because of how much I relied on her. Thinking about how she felt was extremely painful for me, and since she was in the spotlight, her colleague me also attracted attention. It was because of her that I became overly sensitive to my surroundings, and as a side effect, I started to notice the attention directed at me as well. The most common feeling among these was jealousy. She was admired by many as an ideal woman. Working under her was something to be proud of, regardless of gender, and I was the only one working in that position, so it was only natural that jealousy and envy were directed at me. Still, once I became aware of it, my life at the company was far from peaceful. I once overheard some male colleagues talking about me behind my back. Why is he so blunt when he's working under such a beautiful boss? Maybe he's not interested in women. If it were me, I wouldn't leave her alone. If he's not interested, maybe he could swap with me. Indeed, I had never felt such emotions towards Kate as they did. There were times when Kate made small talk and asked, "Scene, do you have a girlfriend?" But I would respond with, "No, I don't." Anyway, about this schedule here and dive back into work. In fact, I had never felt such emotions towards any female colleagues. I had never deeply thought about it before, but I guess I disliked the idea of mixing my personal and professional lives. However, from the perspective of the female employees, this made me seem serious, and they rated me highly as a faithful man. Sean is reliable and a good person. I heard he doesn't have a girlfriend right now. Maybe I should go for it. I sometimes overheard these comments, but I didn't feel particularly happy about them. Hey, Sean, are you listening? Sorry, I wasn't. What was that? It seemed I had been lost in thought during work, even while my boss was talking. When I looked at her, she was giving me a strange look. That's not like you. Is something wrong? Wrong. Are you feeling unwell? Do you need to take the day off? No, I'm fine. I'm sorry, but could you repeat what you just said? I was asking about the progress of the report for tomorrow. Are you sure you're okay? You look more tired than usual. I took a deep breath and rubbed my eyes. Really, it's fine. I was just about to show you the materials. Here they are. Please take a look. Wow, you're so quick. You're such a big help. But you look a bit down. Down? Are you excited about next week's trip or something? Next week is a company trip. Are you secretly looking forward to it? Kate poked my shoulder with her elbow, wearing a mischievous grin. Don't lump me in with you. Isn't that more your thing? You really get me. Last year, I couldn't really enjoy it, so this year I'm really looking forward to it. How can you be so excited about a company trip? Of course, it's a great chance to bond with colleagues. Plus, she stared intently at my face. When I met her gaze, she looked away. You might even get your first girlfriend, Sean. I was baffled by the out-of-the-blue comment. Huh? That's none of your business. Anyway, please check these materials. With that, she waved the documents and walked away. I'm sure I've told her I'm not interested in office romances. When I once told her that I've never had a girlfriend, she was genuinely shocked. She said people who don't date in school have a harder time as adults. Then she patted my head sympathetically. In the end, she even said, "Good luck." I was annoyed and snapped back at her, but she just laughed, finding it amusing. It's true I've never had a romantic relationship. Still, during my school years, I did have crushes. In a school that combined elementary, middle, and high school, I spent my days studying. My parents were strict, so I never hung out with friends or watched anime or read comics. On my days off, a tutor would come to our house, and I'd spend all day studying. It felt a bit stifling, but I worked hard to see my parents' happy faces when I got good grades. Maybe because of my hard work, or because my parents were worried about their son who only cared about studying, they told me I could go to any college I wanted and pursue my interests. So I chose university that I was interested in, even though its academic ranking was a bit lower. But naturally, I had to deal with communicating with others there. In elementary, middle, and high school, I only focused on studying, so I found it difficult to have conversations with people. Because I never enjoyed any of the typical childhood entertainments, I couldn't keep up with topics that others my age knew about, and I couldn't tell interesting stories. Eventually, I started to feel more and more isolated on campus. But there was one woman who didn't abandon me. She was a bit of a wild character from the same department. She had a personality that made her approachable to everyone, and I was no exception. Even though I wasn't good at talking, she would laugh at my attempts and keep talking to me. This was a first for me, and I found myself gradually drawn to her. This was my first love. We were in the same tennis club, so we started talking more. As I grew more attracted to her, I mustered up the courage to confess my feelings. But maybe it was too sudden, because she looked a bit troubled and said, "I need some time to think." I thought I might have messed up, but I also thought that if she didn't like me, she would have rejected me right away, so maybe there was hope. But a few days later, while I was anxiously waiting for her response, I stumbled upon her talking with some friends. "Hey, you know Sean?" "Oh, that guy from the same club?" Yeah, I think he totally likes you. He actually confessed to me." "What? No way. You should totally go out with him." "No way, he's such an idiot." I couldn't believe she thought of me that way behind my back. I felt so embarrassed and hurt for not noticing and thinking I could talk to her. I ran away from there as fast as I could. It was still morning, but there was no way I could attend the afternoon classes. I went back to my apartment and didn't leave for several days. Thus my first love ended in the worst possible way, without anyone knowing. Since then, I've found it difficult to talk to women, and I entered adulthood without any romantic experiences. Because of this, I have a negative image of romance. Seeing a male coworker flirt with our boss makes me feel uncomfortable, and even when a woman seems to show interest in me, I don't feel anything. On my way home, my boss Kate called out to me. We often walk part of the way home together, so when our schedules align, we go home together. Today was one of those days. You seemed a bit off today. Are you really okay? Yeah, somehow. We talked while walking home. Kate, can I cancel next week's company trip? Kate was so shocked by my words that she froze like she'd been struck by lightning. Why? We talked about making the best of this opportunity. When the company trip was announced, I had been debating with her about going. At that time, I ended up sharing a bitter story from my school days with her. That's what happened, but even if you don't like it, I think it's important to learn how to interact with your coworkers outside of work. We work together every day towards the same goals. Knowing each other better makes the work smoother. At that time, sharing my troubles with her made me feel lighter, which was unusual for me. That's why I decided to go, thinking maybe this is a chance to change myself. But now old memories were coming back, making me reluctant to join a company trip. But I just can't do it. Even though she's my boss, it's embarrassing to show my weak side. Still, there's something special about being able to be honest with her. You'll be fine, Scene. There's no such thing as can't. After all, you're my brilliant colleague. If anyone can do it, it's you, Scene. Her words overlapped with something a girl I had a crush on once said to me. Careful, I almost got the wrong idea again. Just like that girl? Kate was just trying to encourage me as her colleague. She didn't see me as a romantic interest. I told myself that to stay calm. Even without special feelings, she's the person I work with the most. She probably understands me better than anyone else in the office, so I felt her words were genuine. And even if it doesn't work out, I'm here, aren't I? Is this some kind of new harassment? What? How cheeky. Thanks to these playful exchanges, the unpleasant memories and anxieties from my past vanished before I knew it. And so, the day of the company trip arrived. Feeling a bit nervous, I headed to the bus stop. When I got there, the employees, all in their casual clothes, had already gathered. They looked happier and more vibrant than they did in the office. Just seeing that scene brought back old memories, stirring up my anxiety. In that state of mind, I stopped at the entrance of the bus when I heard a voice from behind me. Good morning, Scene. It was Kate who called out to me. Good morning, Kate. As soon as I said that, I realized my mistake. Remember, we agreed you wouldn't see me as a boss today. On our way back the other day, Kate and I made a pact to stop seeing her as a boss today to help us relax and enjoy the trip more. Kate, although I only showed her that I agreed with the idea, looked pleased when I said it. All right, let's go join everyone. Saying that, she grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the group of employees. Despite my worries, the company trip turned out to be really fun. Kate sat next to me on the bus, so I didn't have to be too concerned about making conversation. And since I was on the aisle seat, employees across the aisle chatted with me. I hardly ever talk about non-work topics with colleagues, let alone personal matters. I felt it, and so did those who spoke to me. It was a refreshing change. Even though I didn't have trouble keeping conversations going on the bus, I didn't initiate many topics, so my chats with individuals felt brief. It was enjoyable talking to people I usually don't interact with, but it also made me realize how bad I am at communication. By the time we got off the bus, I had managed to break the ice with a few colleagues. You're a good listener, Scene, and so kind. I was happy to receive such compliments. However, I also regretted that if I had been better at conversing back in my school days, I might have enjoyed those times more. Just as I was being overwhelmed by this late regret, Kate patted my shoulder and, with a big smile, said, You're doing great. Her smile cleared away my gloomy thoughts. Throughout the day, all the employees toured various sites and had lunch together, moving in small groups like a school field trip. Of course, I was in the same group as Kate. Besides Kate and me, I didn't know much about the group members, but the guys in the group stuck close to Kate as usual. Even so, she treated them no differently than she did at work. While Kate and her entourage walked ahead, I followed behind with another female employee I had never spoken to. Of course, I had never talked with her. She didn't seem like the type to initiate conversations either, so we mostly walked in silence. but I managed to make some awkward small talk, feeling like I was improving a bit at starting conversations. After finishing our sightseeing, we headed to the inn where we'd be staying for the night. It wasn't luxurious, but we each had our own room. Not used to spending the whole day with a large group, I was exhausted. Finally, having a room to myself felt like the only place where I could truly relax. I brought my luggage into the room, took a deep breath, and stared blankly at the ceiling. This company trip is a 2-day, 1-night event. I was savoring the fact that we had successfully made it through half of it. Then I heard a knock on my door. "Yes, Scene, are you there?" It was Kate, calling for me from outside the door. I opened the door and invited her into the room. "Your room is no different from mine." "Oh, Kate, your room is on the 3rd floor, right?" I almost treated her as a boss out of habit, but managed to stop myself and started a conversation with her casually. "Yes, it is, and guess what? It's directly above this room." She smirked and pointed at the ceiling. "What's with that look?" She walked up to me and peered into my face. "Did you just imagine something weird?" "No way, I wouldn't think that about you, Kate." "Oh, well, that's too bad." With that, she walked back to the door. "Oh, Kate." I wanted to ask her what she meant by too bad, but she was already in the hallway. At that moment, I froze for a second. Her neck was visible from her clothes. Normally, Kate always wears her long hair down and a high-necked shirt at work, so I don't think anyone has ever seen the back of her neck. But on this company trip, even though she still had her hair down, her fair, beautiful neck stood out more. Kate has very fair skin, smooth and clear. Her smooth skin continued down her neck, but I noticed an even whiter spot just below it. "All right, the party's in a bit. Don't be late, okay?" With that, she left the room. I didn't get a good look, but I'm pretty sure there was a white spot. It intrigued me a bit, but since her clothes were white, I figured it must be some kind of decoration and decided not to worry about it. A few minutes later, I headed to the banquet hall on the 1st floor as Kate had instructed. There, the company-wide party for all the employees participating in the company trip began. Employees who once seemed to be comedians and those reputed to be good singers took turns going up on stage to perform and liven up the atmosphere. After a while, as the alcohol started to take effect, the party gradually turned into a raucous affair. I usually don't drink, so I thought I'd get drunk quickly due to the atmosphere. But surprisingly, after about an hour, I was moderately tipsy amidst the excitement. Although I tried to talk to the person next to me under the influence of alcohol, my attempts were drowned out by the surrounding noise. More men than usual gathered around Kate, who was sitting across from me. In their drunken state, a proposal contest was taking place, and while Kate looked slightly bewildered, she was laughing at the men's silly proposals. Seeing her like that made me happy, and I decided to head back to my room a bit earlier, thinking about tomorrow. I left a word with the employee sitting next to me. I don't want it to affect me tomorrow, so I'm heading out now, and exited the venue. I thought of saying something to Kate as well, but the party was so lively that there was no room to intervene, so I quietly left without saying anything to her. When I got to my room, the noise from the banquet hall still echoed in my ears, making me dizzy even though it was supposed to be quiet. I think I enjoyed the atmosphere, but I wasn't entirely satisfied with myself. As long as you're having fun at a party, that's enough. Nevertheless, regrets and reflections like, if only I could drink and talk more like everyone else, swelled in my mind as it quieted down. Maybe I should just sleep, I muttered to myself, and was getting ready for bed when I heard a knock on the door. Wondering who it was, I got up from the bed and walked to the door. "Open up, woo!" It was Kate who knocked on my door. Judging by her voice, she seemed quite drunk. Her voice was slurred in a way that was unimaginable from her usual self, which made me a bit worried, so I hurried to open the door. Sure enough, she was leaning against the door, and as soon as I opened it, she stumbled into my room. I quickly caught her to support her. "Are you okay? You're really drunk." Her clothes were a bit disheveled from being drunk. As I adjusted her clothes, she looked at me. "Yeah, I got drunk, Scene. Everyone kept giving me drinks." "Were you okay coming here alone?" "Yeah, everyone was being so persistent, so I said I was going to the bathroom and ran away." Her face was more flushed than usual due to the alcohol, making her expression look vivid. Feeling a bit flustered by her more sensual appearance than usual, her expression suddenly changed, and she started to look increasingly pale. "Ah, I'm feeling a bit sick." Sensing something bad might happen, I quickly took her to the bathroom in the room, and my bad feeling was spot on. She threw up in the toilet until her stomach was empty. After a while, she seemed to have calmed down. She sat there, exhausted from throwing up. "Kate, are you okay?" I asked, and she responded with a small nod and a faint voice. After a while, she suddenly stood up and turned to me. "Are you okay?" Her expression was very calm, and she was smiling. "Yeah, I'm fine now." However, her face was pale, and it seemed like she was still feeling sick. I supported her and helped her sit on my bed, then handed her a bottle of water I had bought and kept in the fridge. She took the bottle, drank some water, and took a deep breath. Then her complexion quickly returned to normal. "Yeah, I feel better now. Thank you, Scene, and I'm sorry for showing you something unpleasant." "It's okay. If I had left you like that, my room would have been covered in your vomit. If that had happened, I would have lost face as your boss. Also, how do you treat me?" "Oh, but it's hard to change. I usually see you as my boss. You need to get used to it. It's important for improving communication." I'm already being flexible. Originally, there was a plan for me to be casual with Kate during this company trip. She said that would be best, but I felt it was too sudden and awkward, so I immediately rejected it. "Yes, Kate." "Good. So did you talk to a lot of people today?" "More than usual from the looks of it." "Not that much, huh? You really should talk to everyone more. You're popular after all." "I'm not sure about being popular, but I do think I should talk more." "It's also the fault of everyone around you. They have no eye for talent if they're ignoring you, Scene." "Ah, ma'am, something seems off with Kate. Because I'm your boss. You're good at your job and a nice guy. I want you to get along with everyone." Her angle started to sound like a drunk person's. "Yes, I'm really glad you think so, but for now, maybe you should go back to your room." I urged her, but she wrapped her arm around my neck and pulled me closer. "You're my pride and joy, you know that." Drunk as she was complimenting me with a cheerful smile. Even though she's drunk, it's nice to be praised. As I opened my mouth to thank her, she suddenly seemed satisfied after saying everything she wanted to and let go of me, saying, "I'm sleepy," and started to take off her clothes. "Hey, Kate, this isn't your room." I tried to stop her from undressing, but she had already taken off her clothes, leaving her in just her underwear. She even tried to take off her underwear, reaching behind her back and saying, "It's tight," as she tried to undo the look. Thinking this was seriously bad, I grabbed her hands just in time as she was about to unhook it and managed to stop her. I sighed with relief at having stopped a disaster, but before me was her beautiful body. Even through her suit, I thought she had a great figure, but seeing her in person, it was even more striking. At the same time, I noticed her secret. She had a large white birthmark running down her back. Upon closer inspection, the birthmark extended up to the nape of her neck. What I saw that time wasn't my imagination. Without worrying about any of that, she said "bed" and collapsed onto my bed in front of her, falling asleep immediately. The damage seemed to be limited to her upper body. Seeing her sleeping peacefully with little snores, I realized the situation had calmed down a bit, so I carefully covered her upper body with the top part of her clothes she had taken off. Then I sat next to the bed where she was sleeping and started researching the white patches on her skin using my phone. What came up was a disease called vitiligo. It seems that this disease causes a reduction in the cells that produce skin color, resulting in white patches all over the body. While it doesn't directly cause pain or itching, many patients suffer from the appearance-related aspects of the disease. That's why she always wore high-neck tops to hide it. Hiding it means she must be conscious of it. Her appearance is different from others. She must have had a tough time during her childhood. Thinking that way made me see her differently, from a beautiful and cheerful girl to someone quite different. Worried that she might catch a cold if left like this, I laid her down properly on the bed and covered her with a blanket. Then I sat on the sofa alone, gazing at her sleeping face. Speaking of which, she hardly ever talks about herself, always about me, but considering she has such a secret, It's probably not a good memory for her, especially since I'm her colleague. I can understand why she wouldn't want to tell me. Still, having seen what I did, it might be a chance to get to know her a bit better. But how should I bring it up? While I was pondering this, before I knew it, dawn had broken and the sun was starting to rise. The morning sunlight started streaming in, waking her up. She sat up and began looking around, noticing the chill. She looked at herself and then at me. "Oh, good morning." Before I could finish my greeting, she'd hurriedly pulled the quilt over her upper body to cover herself. "What? Why am I just in my underwear on top?" She looked back and forth between me and her body in a panic. Then she glared at me with a bright red face. "Were you that kind of person, bringing me into your room? You're the worst." Apparently, she had no memory of yesterday at all. I sighed deeply and explained, "Kate, you came into my room on your own and undressed. Do you usually have a habit of doing that?" At this, she froze as if remembering something. Then, trembling and turning even redder, she curled up. Well, when I drink too much, I'm really sorry." It seemed she had calmed down a bit, and she apologized. Feeling sorry for her, I hastily handed her my jacket. "It's okay. You'll catch a cold, so please wear this." She adjusted her clothes in embarrassment, put on the jacket, and apologized to me again. "I'll go back to my room. I'm really sorry." Then she quickly retreated to her room. After the commotion settled, I finally calmed down. We didn't touch on the subject of her white bruise at all, but there wasn't really a chance to. Maybe she doesn't care about it as much as I thought. I guess she doesn't want people talking about her skin. I should forget it. It's better for her. In the end, I decided not to ask her about the bruise and kept it to myself. As I was thinking this, I started to feel drowsy, finally drifting off to sleep. Though I only managed to sleep for about 2 hours, soon it was time to check out of the inn, and I boarded the large bus. After that, the company trip ended without any problems, and life returned to normal. Because of the trip, I started talking to people in the office more, but my communication skills didn't improve overnight. Still, I hope I can gradually get better at it. I'm really grateful to Kate for creating this opportunity. But as soon as I arrived at the office, Kate called me over. She told me to come to the meeting room at a specified time. I was pretty sure the meeting room was free at that time. However, her expression and tone were more severe than usual when she stopped me. Worried that I had done something wrong, I entered the meeting room. Before I could ask, Kate locked the only door and, without turning on the light, pushed me against the wall. "What is this about? How did you light my body?" Her expression was different from earlier. Now she had a mischievous grin. I was thrilled by her devilish smile and the situation I was in. "Huh," I replied in a hushed voice. Seeing my reaction, she grinned even more and said, "You liked it, didn't you?" I remembered seeing her upper body on the night of the company trip, and my heart started beating faster again. Then she took her hand off the wall and pulled at the neck of her high-neck top. This is a condition called vitiligo, but white is originally a beautiful color, and it didn't look bad, right? I don't think it's bad at all, or do you think it's weird? Hearing that, I felt so relieved that I collapsed on the spot. What's wrong? Are you okay?" "No, don't worry about it. It's not weird at all. I just didn't know anything about vitiligo. There are such things as pigment cells." Oh, I really didn't know anything." She looked surprised as if my answer wasn't what she expected. "What? Did you research it?" "Of course I did. I was curious. Besides, it's about a boss I respect." When I said that, she'd also collapsed to the ground like me, and our eyes met at the same height. Her eyes were glistening. I didn't really understand why she was crying. "Is something wrong?" "No, thank you. Thank you for thinking about me. I made you worry, didn't I?" "Oh, well, and I'm sorry for taking off my clothes. I'm such a failure as a boss." "That's not true at all. Even if you took off your clothes, you were still a boss I respect, and you were really beautiful." I hesitated to say that last part, but I did. She blushed at my words. "You didn't need to say that part." After that, she confided in me about the birthmark on her back that she had been hiding until now. She had been acting tough earlier, but even though she said otherwise, it seemed she really had a hard time in the past. Since then, This birthmark has been a source of insecurity for her, and she keeps it hidden. You're the first person besides my family to see this birthmark scene, and I didn't know what you think. Kate, have you never had a boyfriend before? I was so surprised that my voice got louder. I quickly glanced at the entrance to make sure no one was there, and then looked back at her. She nodded, blushing. Even if you say that scene, you've never had one either, right? Why are you trying to compete with me on this? I'm not competing. It's just, I'm popular. Well, that's the same for you, Kate. But if I show this back, they'd be turned off. No way. It's beautiful. There you go again, saying embarrassing things without any shame. Saying that, an awkward silence fell between us. After a while, Kate spoke up. Hey, if you don't like the idea, just say so. But since we both have zero dating experience, why don't we try going out? We wouldn't mock each other for not knowing anything. Surprised by her unexpected suggestion, I looked up at her. She was blushing even more than before. Are you sure? Even someone like me, I'm not good at anything, and I'm terrible at conversation. Are you really okay with that? She looked me straight in the eyes with a serious expression and said, I'm not just saying this. When you saw my back and said it was beautiful, instead of being put off, it made me really happy. I've always thought it was wonderful how you can see people without prejudice. Seeing this birthmark and still saying I'm beautiful. Seeing, I like you. After saying that, she looked down again, clearly embarrassed. Hearing her words, I finally understood the feelings that had been growing inside me. As we spent time together, the discomfort I felt when other guys looked at her and the attraction I felt during our conversations. It's not just that. I think I understood. Maybe I've been hiding these feelings because of my past, but her confession removed that barrier. I realized I like her too. I've been thinking the same thing, Kate. You reached out to someone like me who isn't good at communicating. I love your kindness and lack of prejudice towards everyone. And you are beautiful too. Hearing that, her eyes sparkled and she grinned. Oh no, if you say things like that, I'll like you even more. I held my hand to her once again. Despite being who I am, please let me stay by your side, not just as your colleague, but as your boyfriend. She took my hand with tears of joy streaming down her face. After that, though we were a bit shy at first and even holding hands didn't go smoothly, we steadily went on dates and deepened our relationship. Thanks to her, talking to people regardless of gender at work has become less daunting for me. It seems my reputation has improved, according to Kate, especially among women. I have become someone they look up to. I wish it could have stayed daunting forever. You get approached by too many men, Kate. I'd like you to hide that pretty face of yours a bit. When I said that, she turned away, embarrassed. Spending time together seems to have given her a bit more confidence, too. She said, I'm still a bit worried about wearing swimsuits because of how guys look at me, but I might be okay in a spot where there are only women. Showing a positive attitude toward her insecurities in this way, we faced our worries and moved towards resolving them together. A few years have passed since we started dating. We're now at our wedding venue. Since we got married after an office romance, the wedding was celebrated by many and ended without a hitch. After the ceremony, I looked at her in her wedding dress again. The back was open, showing her smooth skin and the white birthmark that was her insecurity. I'm sorry for having this kind of body, but I'll do my best to make you happy, she said. What are you talking about? Now your birthmark is beautiful, and that line about making you happy is supposed to be mine. I replied, saying that. She hugged me with a big smile. I hugged her back, and in my heart, I vowed